The Flood weren't always those scary-looking zombie things. As a matter of fact, they were once precursors. The precursors were a Tier 0 race. To put that in perspective, the Forerunners were Tier 1, as well as ancient humans. The precursors were extremely advanced in their technology, so advanced that they could travel between galaxies and were not tied to a physical form, as they were known as transsentient beings with the ability to change shape to whatever they saw fit. We do not know where they came from, or if they are native to the Milky Way galaxy, but while they were here, they created all the living species that are alive today in the galaxy. Their existence revolved around the concept of the mantle, being watchers or guardians of all things living. Most of the things the precursors built were created with neural physics. Building things in this way would give them the ability to influence the composition of the universe at their will. To store all of this vast knowledge, the precursors created the domain. To quote Halopedia, it is a transcendent quantum reservoir of information. Almost like an internet that you can access with your mind and have access to the entire history of everything that has happened. Every so often, the precursors would test a species to see if they were worthy of obtaining the mantle of responsibility. The first species that were tested were the Forerunners. Although, the precursors did not think they were worthy of obtaining the mantle and moved on to another species they created, the humans. They proved themselves worthy of the mantle, but when the Forerunners had heard of this, they became enraged and attacked their creators. The Forerunners nearly destroyed every precursor in their rage, some escaping to Path Chthona, but only to be hunted down by the Forerunners. Very few precursors remained. Some went into suspended animation, while others turned themselves into a molecular powder in hopes of returning to their full form years later. As millions of years went by, and the Forerunners and humans became more advanced, this powder became defective and corrupted. Humans came across this powder in cylinders that were aboard ships that had crashed on deserted planets. They took it with them, thinking it to be harmless, but have a more docile effect on animals. So they began to test this powder on an animal that was domesticated by humans in San'Shyuum, called the Feru. After using this powder on the Feru for many years, there were some changes that began to happen. The animals started having furry growths and fleshy protrusions appear, while some started to consume one another. These Feru were then killed or set into the wild, but this didn't stop the infection. The humans in San'Shyuum that were exposed to the Feru started contracting this powder disease. While getting odd growths like the Feru, it affected them psychologically as well. The infected victims began to consume the remaining Feru, only to move on to cannibalism and killing the uninfected. Since this powder was once precursor, the infected became precursor-like, having access to the domain and knowledge of what happened before. The revived and corrupted precursors thought that this new form could be another test for a species to rise and obtain the mantle while getting revenge on the Forerunners who had destroyed them millions of years ago. These infected humans and San'Shyuum spread the disease to other parts of the galaxy. The infected were now becoming a different form, killing and using the dead to create a biomass. This became the Flood we know in the games. The outbreak quickly grew into an all-out war for the humans in San'Shyuum. It spread so fast and so far that the humans had begun to enter Forerunner-occupied space to try and eradicate this infection, but it only led to the Forerunners believing that the humans were attacking them, leading into the Human-Forerunner War.